Thank you so much for joining us here today at the Austin Community College Fashion Incubator. My name is Nina Means, I'm the director here, and we're so happy to have you here. This is our follow-up for an initial talk we did on color and Luanne's work around the hero's journey. And so what we're really excited to present today is the process of product development. So we're really taking you on a journey from the beginning of the concept with the artwork and how it's getting translated into product. So this is going to be a really exciting conversation that we're having. But before I get into that, I want to do a little bit of housekeeping. We are normally inside the lab, which we're more than happy to take a tour of whenever everything's complete. But again, there's no food, and there are a few machines in there that have sharps, and so we just ask that you not put your fingers or anything underneath there, just for your safety. Additionally, what we're really excited about is partnering with TLED, which is our Teaching, Learning, and Excellence division here at the college that does all of our filming and live streaming, which is available during the entire program, as well as ACCTV, who produces our show. We're now in season 2, so this is episode 202. Welcome. Thank you. We're really excited about that. So, that's something that it's on ACCTV's YouTube page, as well as Spectrum Channel 19. So you can check us back there on your local listing for those shows. If you are doing any of your pictures, I see a lot of beautiful pictures being taken today. Thank you. If you are taking pictures today, we tag your tag. So tag us at ACC Fashion Incubator on Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn, and we will tag back and we'll repost. So we'd love to be able to share that with our audience as well. So thank you so much for being here. And we're going to go ahead and get started with today's topic. So today we're talking about living in color, an artist's journey through fashion product development. I wanted to give us kind of an overview, the framework of what it is that we're talking about with product development, and then we're going to jump in and talk to our guest. Normally, what happens whenever you're creating a product is, there's definitely phases to whenever you're thinking through the concept, and then having to prepare the product to be sold to another store or to the consumer, and we have a process that we have to go through before we're ready to make thousands of units of the product. So what we've done with Luanne through Alice James Global and their business is really to connect her with resources to be able to produce her artwork into product. But what I want to do is introduce our two guests here, and I want to ask one of our guests to kind of unpack product development a little bit more for us. So Luanne is to my right here, and then Michelle French is to my far right. She is our production coordinator here, and so she's going to be our expert, helping us to do a deep dive on product development. So Michelle, can you help us understand a little bit more about the product development process and what that actually entails?
Sure. Thank you, Nina. The product development process is basically executing product based on a company's strategic vision. So that takes many forms depending on what the product is and what the company is. Specifically for today, we're going to be focusing on soft goods product development, which is anything made out of textiles, and for an emerging brand that's manufacturing in the US. Product development specifically is managing it from fashion design all the way to pre-production prototype. So right before it goes into scalable production.
Thank you. That's great. So Luanne, I want to come back to you. So in terms of going through this process, just kind of in a general experience, can you tell us what that was like for you?
Wow. It's probably been one of the most difficult things I've ever done. And I've done a lot of difficult things. So Michelle just made it sound kind of, you just do this and that, and it's like, wow. And I thought
We only have an hour.
Oh, yeah. I'm being very articulate, right? But I think what it's been like is, I asked a question a number of years ago. It started with color, because I started teaching color, and I learned that as I began to think about what is color, I saw that we live in a world of color. We live in the whole world of color. It's not just in art. Then that broadened out to my art, and I thought, well, what is art? Is it just something that hangs on a gallery wall or in my studio or in a museum? And then I thought, well, I researched back into the 20th century and back into the late 19th century, and I found my predecessors, mentors in the arts and crafts movement. That's William Morris, and bringing design into your home. And then I got into Art Nouveau and the Bauhaus by 1919, 1920. And I found that I'm going to butcher this word, but it's Gesamtkunstwerk. It means the total work of art. And I thought, I want that because, and I think I'll wrap this up by saying, I am very much not interested in a starving artist model. I think that we need to be able to, we have a lot to say as artists, so I want to be able to bring the art from our studios into our homes and bring the messages to our homes. So the question was, how can I do that? How hard could it be?
Well, glad we're having the conversation. So how hard could it be? We wanted to kind of go through a structured model of what normally happens through the product development process. We're going to do a bit of a volley between Luanne and Michelle about what's happening on the industry side, and then anecdotally what's happening on the experience side. So just give you an idea of what that's like going through this process initially. So Michelle, can you just give us a little bit of an overview of what these various pieces are?
Sure. I broke it down into 6 different stages, again, to try to, there are a lot of subtasks that go under each of these stages, from concept development all the way to pre-production prototype. But for an emerging brand, it's difficult to really envision how complex this could be based on, as consumers, we just kind of go out and we buy something, and it's very easily available to us. It's something that's accessible, something that is now replaceable quickly. And so to unwrap it and to go down to like a granular level of how an idea or the inception of a concept comes through is something that is very challenging to see from the very beginning for an emerging brand. How do I get from point A to point B without having some support from professionals like Alice James Global? So here, as we go through this process, I think we could kind of start, I guess, just diving into the different stages. So concept development in fashion design, really this is going to be one of the key stages in being able to execute a project successfully. In terms of concepting, there are a lot of different inspirational ideas that drive a designer to want to create something. You have social movements, you have highlighting a culture, you have highlighting your value system, really connecting with your audience through your product, which I think Luanne does a really great job of, through her artwork, encompassing all of these different motifs and like a lot of symbolism in her art that she's wanting to share and through her art in daily life sort of concept.
I would actually love to cut over to Luanne on that. So in your concepting phase, what did you feel like were some of your motifs and anchors for the product that you wanted to create?
That's a great question.
Or symbols.
Right. So you see that little ant over there, and she's crawling all over my shirt right here. When I first did the ant, I thought, oh my God, I'm doing an ant. I didn't know what I was going to do with it. So she just kept appearing. I'm calling her a she. And when I saw her over and over again, I began to realize she was going on a journey, and I took her on a journey through the early morning into the midday, into the sunset, out into the night. And then I was already thinking about how could I wanted the artists to be in your homes. I didn't want us to be isolated. So I thought it just became obvious to me that it had to be the ant. And people were like, you know what, ants aren't even cute. Like, why are you doing that? But I thought, I don't know why I'm doing, but then I realized to the social movement piece, I strongly believe that we need to be in a new place now where we work together. And what I realized what she does is she holds her head high. She works for it's teamwork. She's holding that leaf, that's Mother Nature. And so it's all about, a new way of seeing ourselves in the world and valuing everyone's voice working together and respecting Mother Nature. That's the beauty of it. So I thought that really needs to come out, and we need to be able to live by a new way to do that. So I thought, you know what? If it could be on pillows and you could put your head on the hero's journey, or lumberjack rose, that's the other one. That's gingham. You see that sort of basic checkerboard plaid? Yeah, that is the social fabric. That's all of us working together. Every square counts, get it? But it's in motion. So, and then in the middle of that, if you really believe that, then the rose is going to bloom for you. And I thought that we need a good message in this culture, you know, and the art can help do that. We could wear it on our clothes, and so that's, then from that point on, how do you actually turn that to product?
Yeah, so I think that one of the things that we were really excited about regarding your product was the concept really lent itself to, I think, a diverse audience. You know, collaboration, teamwork, hard work, and then these really beautiful exploded prints that really had, you know, abstraction and contrast and color. And so really throughout the collection, you see a lot of those motifs repeated throughout the product, which is really cool to see. So the next step that we go through regarding the product development process.
I'd actually like to comment a little more on the concept development portion of it. So in this concept development portion, as you can see, the Pantone colors that are along the, the print. So that is one of the main things that we do in fashion design as well in that process, is creating your color palette. And Luanne inherently has color in her soul. So it wasn't very difficult, you know, to kind of just grasp what it is that she is trying to emulate through her work. And so being able to have a partner that can guide you through, you know, matching with Pantones, which is sort of the standardized way that creatives communicate about color, and being able to push that through into a different material, into textile. And so there is that portion of concept development and fashion design. Then you also have the trend and lifestyle market research component of it, where will, you know, you be able to sell your product? Where will it live? Who will buy it? Where will they shop for it? What price will they pay for it? All of these elements that go into the fashion design process. As an emerging brand, it's important to be able to price based on what you'll be manufacturing at. And so since you have a finite amount of resources, designing purposefully is really important. Another element of it is sustainability and design. And everyone thinks really sustainability in terms of materials specifically, but to be able to be an effective designer and emerging brand, you need to be able to think sustainable systems. What does it look like when you produce it in mass scale? How much waste is a part of that? Whether you'll have sustainable partnerships with your team. I think Luanne does an amazing job of bringing hardworking, talented people to the table and seeing a long-term vision for her brand. And that is one of the crucial components of being able to successfully launch something, is being able to hold on to your vendors and suppliers and know that you're gonna go through a lot of different hurdles, a lot of different iterations, and understand that you will have to continue to work together without sort of navigating on a different path or blaming or doing things that might adversely affect your brand as a whole as you go through this long-term trajectory of building your business.
Yeah, there's a lot to that. And what I love about you kind of unpacking what's happening at the concept phase is that there's a lot of technical components that are being determined at the very onset of creating product before you even get a chance to do the technical design or before you even get a chance to get to the next phase. So the concept laying is really, really crucial because it's really setting a lot of your attitude about your business model, your sustainability, all those things that you brought up, but also the technical components of, you know, establishing your color story, which is not just a simple task of choosing I like red or green or blue. It's a much more intentional and scientific space to occupy in that, you know, initial phase.
That's right. Yeah.
So we do have a few steps that we want to get through. I want to make sure we get a chance to touch on them all.
Sure.
It's
a good thing I limited to 6.
Good thing. So we're going to do our best to do an overview of those things, and then as we get to question and answer, feel free to do a deeper dive on some of those. So the next one that we want to talk about is step 2, which is the technical design and material sourcing. So I want to go first to Michelle. So could you tell us a little bit, from just an industry standpoint, what are we doing at that stage?
Sure. Here's where you're really getting into the details of your product, outlining technical illustrations. So where every stitch goes, what your specifications are, being able to communicate that effectively with your technical team. So that's your pattern makers, factory, sample makers, really deconstructing everything that if you just approach the product not knowing anything about it, you should be able to read a set of documents and create that product. So it takes a lot of, it takes excellent communication skills to be able to achieve this successfully. In terms of technical design, you have your technical illustrations. And so those highlight specific details, placements of different things. And a tech pack is really the core of communicating that product. So you'll have your technical illustrations in there, your bill of materials, that's what fabric goes where, how is that created, what suppliers providing that, what's the width of it, the colors, etc. Then you also have your construction details, again, what machine type, what stitch type, how many stitches per inches. And so all of this stuff that really, I think, kind of people glaze over and are like, what? Are you talking about? And so
Very crucial information for the factory.
Exactly. And all this specification, so all the measurements, but also all the tolerances. So, Luanne's wants consistently sized pillows. You don't want like 25 inch by 20 if your product's supposed to be 20 by 20. So it's also like a contract that allows manufacturers to double check their work and ensure that the quality of the product is consistent. This will lead you to your pattern, which is the template for your product. So this is what's used to create the pattern. Oftentimes I see emerging brands will kind of skip over the tech pack and just go straight to pattern making. But it leaves a lot of ambiguity of how, if you were taking your pattern from point A to point B, would they be able to execute it the same way? And that's really the goal, is to set a really good foundation for your products and ensure that the quality, depending on where you go to produce and what you're doing, is consistent, because it will be a direct representation of the standards that you have for your brand and what you want to provide as value for your customer. And so that is the technical design aspect of it. The material sourcing specifically, as an emerging brand in the US, it is difficult to find materials here that, with suppliers that provide quality and scale and consistent dye lots. And that really is kind of one of the biggest challenges for emerging brands, because we don't go to Joann's. We have to find really reliable suppliers, and you really have to build those partnerships. And so in terms of being able to execute on the color standards, which is pretty crucial for a Luanne's brand, you really have to find a partner and test to make sure that that is consistent.
Right. So Luanne, let me just ask you, whenever you were going through, the process of, seeing the materials come in and the colors come back on the fabric, what was that like for you?
It was amazing, because you're hearing how difficult it is. Like, there's so many steps, and the communication. When Michelle talks about the communication between, so she mentioned Alice James Global and Crystal DeLisi, but we worked to be able for us to be able to, down to the label. What's that label out of? How big is that label? Where does it get sewn? That's in LA. And who is doing that? Now, they happen to know who is good at that. Why would we use them? So we got the labels back, and we're like, oh, look at the labels. And then it's like, okay, well, then where is it sewn, and where's the zipper? And what about the other digital fabric printing that we're doing that, because we're printing on the fabric. So that's the Trevino family that are here, and I see Andy and Edwin and Claudia. We worked in Austin to be able to do, you see the canvases here, the backdrops, developing that relationship. They're amazing. And when we saw them, and Andy sent a picture of the first lumberjack roses coming off the press, and I was just like, oh my God, that felt so great. And then, so is it in silk? Is it in how much cotton, who does what, how do we do that, get the strikes, the color's wrong, adjust the Pantone, okay, we got to go back and do another run. Well, now we're down to 2 weeks, and we better get the labels done because we got to get them.
Right. Yes. Welcome. You're here. That's what happens. This is the business. This is the industry. So, the strike-offs are the various runs of the print that's being tested on the material, right? And so you get a chance to see how the color shows up on that material, how vibrant or not vibrant, if it's on the same shade or cast that it's supposed to be. And I'm sure your eye was very sensitive to, the way it was supposed to execute with your background.
Right, because we're actually naming the colors. That's Fierce Magenta, Raspberry, and Midnight, and that is, the white is North Star White, the gray is Owl, and the dark is Midnight. So we have a match to the Pantone color. We've got the hex code number for all the digital parts, and then we get them in. And it's like, we got to switch out this color and change. Now that's another week with a FedEx rush order to try to get that one in, so we can get. So that's.
There's a lot of logistics at the onset, and a lot of matching and a lot of rematching that's going on. So I want to keep us moving forward. So the material sourcing, and again, that's also making sure that we have the right base fabrics as well, right? The linen or the silk or what have you. You mentioned not buying from Joann's. Thank you for that.
Yes.
We have nothing against Joann's. Yeah. It's just not good for wholesale. So if you're gonna or building a product that you're intending to sell to a
brand.
Customer. Yes.
Right. So then again, that linen is sort of going back to sort of your strategic vision and sustainability and what your core values are for your brand. So I think Luanne made a lot of wise choices as how it pertains to her value system.
Awesome.
But it's really hard to print on.
Yeah.
Yes, it is. It is a bit of a challenge to print on with the knobs, right? Yeah. So the next section we're talking about is material purchasing and the prototyping. So again, this is kind of going back to the fabric and the various, your zippers and your labels and all that good stuff.
Right, and I think that this one, even though it sounds kind of simple, it sounds more like a task with not too many subtasks under it. I think where Luanne hit it is greatly underestimated how long it will take you to purchase and get your materials in for prototyping. And so I think a lot of brands kind of glaze over, I just got to order it and I have to get it. But really the logistics involved, you can spend a lot of resources on freight in this stage. And so that's why I wanted to highlight it as its own segment, because it deserves its own segment. And it also sort of lays the foundation for what you will be doing in production. So while you're doing it at a very micro scale for a few products for sampling, you'll be building and testing that material so that when you go to produce, it will be effective.
So you're talking about going from just a few units, like maybe a handful, 3 to 5 pieces, to going to maybe 1,000 or 2,000 units.
Correct.
Okay. And also, you said something earlier about freight. Could you kind of unpack what freight is for us?
Sure. The shipping costs and the lead times before it ships to be able to get the product to you. So you might have a vendor or supplier that will take maybe 2 to 3 days to prepare whatever it is that they're shipping to you, plus the point A to point B lead time for actually shipping it.
Right.
And then if you have revisions, like you would for printing, you will always have revisions. That's something just to accept as an emerging brand. You will have revisions.
It will never be perfect the first time.
Yes, absolutely. And so that's just something to accept as part of the process. That will add another week and then another week. And if you're on a time-sensitive deadline for launching, then really this is why I've highlighted it as a thing to consider.
Absolutely. What was that like for you to experience?
Well, did I mention Alice James Goebel before?
I know.
Yes.
And Crystal DeLazy?
Yes. Yeah.
I remember you posted something on Instagram, and it was about product lifecycle management. Of course, I didn't even know that term, and I've been trying to figure this out for a long time. You just don't hear about it. But there was a post, and it was like, this is what we do when we do this kind of work that Michelle's talking about. And remember, somebody said, "Oh, my friend does this on Etsy or something." I thought, no, you don't. You don't even have a clue, because I just couldn't do it. It's hard enough for me. I get to do my art, right? I just am so surprised at how much you have to know. And like you all would say to me when I first came to Nina and Michelle, and it was, well, you need to think about this, and there's this, and there's this, and there's that, and have you thought about this and that? And I'm like, no, but I'll learn. And that's why it's a hero's journey, by the way. You know, everybody, these are small but mighty tasks. It's ridiculously interesting. But and that's one other thing I want to say right here is that when we talked about having this fashion hour, I thought, I think it's really, really interesting to know what really happens. This is how it happens. This is how it really, everything that you all are wearing has gone through this amazing process, and all these people, other heroes behind there making it happen.
Absolutely.
And to reveal it to everybody so we can learn about that and respect it, that's important. Yeah. And so that's why I thought when we thought Nina suggested we have this talk and have reveal it too. I hope you're enjoying this also because it's a fascinating process.
Thank you for sharing that. We really did want to pull back the curtain on what happens because a lot of times we just, we walk into the store, we purchase our goods, and we leave. But this is an opportunity for us to kind of do a slightly deeper dive. Did you want to add one more note on that?
No.
Okay. Okay, cool. I didn't want to miss a juicy bit, so.
I'll save it for the end.
Okay, save it for the end.
Good.
All right. So we want to get on to stage 4, which is really where we're talking about prototype development and testing.
And
So what are we doing there?
And so in this stage, you're getting your professional sample maker. There are different ways to approach this. You could either work directly with the factory to do this stage, or you can work with a sample maker to do the initial prototype. A sample maker is someone that is a professional seamstress that knows how to construct based on the directions that you've given them, and they have the proper machinery to execute it well. And so the testing is really crucial too. As we mentioned, I'm sure you have all encountered where the dye will run after you wash it the first time and everything else is stained. Or, this is like a critical component in building product is making sure that you test the zipper 800 times, maybe not 800, but
But enough to know that it's not going to break
Exactly.
on the wearer, right? We want to get a good read on how the product will actually perform.
Right. And a really key indicator of a high quality brand is that they don't skip this step, that they take this step very seriously. Will it last? And if you're going for long-term, not fast fashion, will it be a high quality item that you don't have to replace right away? And it really serve its purpose.
Sometimes we'll launder things repeatedly with abrasion and all kinds of things to try to, stress the fabric
Yes.
and see what will happen if you accidentally do something you're not supposed to do with it, if it will survive. So it gives us an opportunity to really understand the garment that much more.
Right.
And also to anticipate if you're going to have an issue with the product getting to the customer and the customer having a faux pas or something and then them wanting to return it to you. So now you're in another situation that you want to hedge from the beginning.
Right. Absolutely.
So I want to actually keep moving forward on this. Did you want to jump in on anything on that, Luanne? You don't have to. I just want to.
I will just reinforce that state. I would have thought that everything would be fine. Everything would be fine. But it was, again, that's time. I remember when Crystal brought back the fabric that was washed that we got back from the New York. We were trying to find how we could get this printed on linen. So different companies have different fabrics and they have different machines and then a slightly different fabric. Well, and there it also would be linen. Which linen? How does that work? Well, and getting it out of the machines, looking at it, ironing. So that also was like, okay, now tick, tick, tick.
Right.
What are we going to do here?
For sure, and there's also different kinds of dye stuffs, whether it's pigment dye or reactive dyes, and the screens, sometimes have registration issues, which is sometimes the screen print will overlap into another section, and you've got some issues there. But I'm really impressed with the quality you were able to get in such a. You guys turned this around very quickly. So bravo, team from Alice James Global and Crystal Delisi. You guys really. Pull the product together, I would say in record time, but it looks amazing. The color is so vibrant.
There was a lot of raised eyebrows. We're like, Luanne, you know what day it is?
Yes.
Yeah,
But I knew Alice James and her team could pull it off. If there's anyone that could pull it off, it would be them.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I think the one thing that's really exciting right now is that the industry is really, Alice has been here. Stitch Texas has been here. White Star has been here. But I think now we have an opportunity to kind of push additional, referral business out to our industry. Really connect and really build a cohesive experience from beginning to end. And I'm so excited about where this is going for Austin, and really Central Texas. I mean, the logistics are, can be a nightmare, but if you've got seasoned professionals that are, here and in the woodwork, we're really everyone's kind of levitating together and creating something that's going to really transform the way that we do product here. So I'm really excited to see this, and I'm excited to see, the soft launch of Luanne Co. here. So bravo team, we're really excited that you guys are here. So I want to go on and get into a little bit more about what happens after this. Oops, this is Lumberjack Rose. I jumped ahead there. But we want to get into this fifth stage that Michelle's outlined for us in this phase, and that's really the technical design and asset revision. So we've seen some technical design kind of in the onset with creating the technical package, where we're telling the factory exactly what we want, how that should be accomplished. But now this is in the technical design and asset revision after we've done prototyping, right?
Yes.
Okay.
And so really, like we kind of mentioned before, there will be changes. Like you'll test it and then you'll determine, oh, this is going to shrink X amount, or you have to accommodate for making any kind of change. So you would go back to all of your technical documents and either redraw or re-indicate what it is the changes are, change the specifications, change how you need to wash it, whether it's the labels on the tech pack, and then ultimately change the pattern to accommodate all of these changes. So then you go back to that and make sure that those are ready to go for production. And so this isn't like a pattern that you would buy at the store. It is something that is designed specifically for the machine that's being used. So, your seam allowance would match that, and also any sort of indications of how, so that Luanne's ant isn't like upside down or backwards, the directional indications for the print. So there's a lot of detail that goes into it where you're really honing in on if someone's going to make 1,000 of these, will they be able to do that successfully? And you're not sitting with 1,000 ants that are like turned upside down. And so that's why this is a really crucial component of before you get into your final sample.
Absolutely. Yeah, we're really interested in looking at how we can support, product development here in Austin. And one of the things that we really wanted to highlight, as a part of this experience is just, knowing that, I'm so glad that we have Michelle here as our in-house expert on product development and production. But what I'm also excited about with this is our opportunity to kind of extend into our community through Michelle's network. And I think that's really what we were able to facilitate for Luanne through some of the people that you'd worked with in the past. I think that for this technical design and asset revision piece, though, I think that a lot of times this is another step that we're skipping,
yes.
right? And so, whenever we're trying to go quickly to market, sometimes it's easy to say like, oh, we just need to get the product out there. But, it's so crucial that we're kind of stepping through every piece of the process.
Deliberately and purposefully.
Right, absolutely. Yeah, there's a little bit of that right now, but yeah, absolutely. I did want to go ahead and get into, I believe, this last section here and really dig into this final pre-production prototype, because after doing all of this work, you're thinking, okay, surely I can go sell this to someone now, right? But why not?
No, and so in this stage, you again are testing and determining, it is what's going to segue you straight into production, but you also want to just give it, one last expose your audience to it one last time and really make sure that you are wanting to make X amount of units and that this is something that you're not going to be holding inventory on because you're rushing into market. And so this is not like a completely finished prototype. So your finished product will be what comes from your production run. And this will still be a sample that isn't part of sort of this production line. And so production management will be its own thing, but this is sort of the last step before going into that phase.
And a lot of our costing is determined at this phase as well, right?
Yes.
You know, I'm sure the asset revision piece gets a bit of that because you may be tweaking for price point or what we have available, you know, in the profit margin to
Right.
be able to make adjustments. But really the costing of the product has to be pretty much ironed out at this point, right?
Yes, absolutely. And so in this stage, your factory will be creating this sample. And they'll be telling you, based on what we can do in our production line, what they can execute for what cost. And your product developer partner will have a really great idea from the beginning based on their experience with a variety of products on what, and sort of guide you in that design and concept phase to be able to get to this point. Ultimately, if you're working with a new factory, or they will be the ones to, you know, you'll have to get to this stage before you can really determine what it is your price point is. Whether your cost of goods sold is still what you intended it to be. And so that's really, this is like a very crucial, also, I guess all of them are very crucial, but.
We think they're all important,
Yeah.
but the costing and making sure that you're landing a product that you can actually sell is you know, paramount. You know, if
Right.
we don't, you know, take thought about that throughout the entire process, you know, the materials used, the, you know, the sourcing that's been done, you know, the execution of the concept, you know, you're really, you know, there's all these pieces that are really affecting what your end price is going to be, and ultimately what your end profit is going to be. And so, you know, looking at that, you know, is really something that, you know, a lot of emerging brands are still working out and ironing out and understanding, you know, what's my business model? What is it that I'm standing for? How is my concept going to get translated into a saleable product that people want to buy and think that it's affordable, you know, and want to invest, you know, and then, you know, or making sure that you're in the right, meeting the right customer, you know, that customer wants to think that the product is exactly what it should be, you know, and so making sure you put the product in front of the right people. So, you know, it's a really exciting time to see you be able to go through this process locally, and to know that Austin is really transforming, you know, itself as really, you know, a new fashion industry location, and to really, you know, elevate these experiences, not just for you, but for other emerging talents that are really looking to build business here. So,
Right, and that makes me think about that this is a really important point, who we're working with, who our partners are. So we are getting, these are the samples that you're seeing here. These are not for sale. We thought, you know, what we can get for the fashion hour is to have, if we can have these beautifully, if we can have, I can be mentored and coached and have all the partnerships to get the beautiful samples. We're just learning all the time because we want to have them produced by Open Arms. And that's what we're going to do in Austin. So Open Arms is the industrial sewing team from the Multicultural Refugee Coalition. And I've been following them. Meg Erskine is a very good friend of mine who founded that organization. And I thought, for years, I wanted them to sew the product. And they just do a beautiful job. So that also means to the price point, because we want these partners and we want to have our local partners, and we want to have it be beautifully done, and it's art. It's really art. It's, you know, it's not going to be like, oh, you're going to see the price point come up higher, but, you know, what we're saying is, if you invest in this brand, this is who you're investing in all along the way, and that is helping to build all. I think, to me, that's what the ant is showing us, which is I'm going home to the community, to the colony, and I'm going to, you know, I'm doing this for the colony. So I feel like, no, that's another reason why I wanted to have this, you know, this conversation, because that helps us all understand more about what it takes to build community. Absolutely. And you can do it through fashion. You can do it through our home goods. You know, so the idea for me to do home goods was also something that we need. The napkins, you know, the the pillows. And if we can do this one and people are interested in our brand, then and there's a lot more that we can do, and that means that there's more investing in our community and all the different partners around the way. And so just trying to get that balance is very important.
Well, what I do like is that, we didn't get a chance to talk about who was actually producing your goods, and
Yeah.
Open Arms being a local manufacturer, like Stitch Texas, like
Yes.
White Star, but they have a much more social component where they're really working with marginalized populations to help give them another opportunity to learn a trade and to work. And so to be able to have the product manufactured with a cause that's so strong and close to the brand identity, really helps to kind of underscore what you're building. So, I think that's fantastic that you guys were thinking that way, about how to demonstrate the value in the product through the way that you've produced it, and how you've really been trying to anchor it in really the soul of the space. So, I would totally understand that. What I wanted to do was if we could just say, if you wanted to leave the audience with one takeaway from your experience, whether from the industry side on product development or from a newcomer to the industry, what would that be?
Is that for me?
You may answer it first if you like.
No, I think I'd rather wait and hear what Michelle think about that.
So I would, if I was speaking to emerging brands and designers, I would say to build sustainable partnerships. I think that Luanne does an incredible job of understanding what it takes, just by simply having a conversation and being able to mobilize and again build a team and create a community around her that really I think elevates the entire project. And so she is obviously a very talented creative artist, and she really hones in on being able to spread that and create a product that is for, a daily reminder. If I were to purchase this pillow and see it in my living room every day, it would remind me of her primarily, because of my personal connection with her, but also community, also hard work, collaboration, everything that, I feel like the Fashion Incubator's kind of, brand also emulates.
Absolutely.
And so for those supporting emerging designers, I would challenge you to prioritize seeking out designers that prioritize these values and this value system if they align with your own. So that would be what I would impart.
Thank you.
That was really beautiful. I think it's so important. What we do matters. So mine is related to what Michelle said. There's two parts. The first one is that, have you all heard of STEM before? Science, technology, engineering, math. Have you heard of STEAM a lot, where the A's in there? Not nearly enough though, right? So art needs to be seen in context with what we do involves the science and the technology, right? And the engineering and the arts and the math. All of it has to go together. I don't like art standing off the side being, sitting on some old pedestal, not having anything to do with life. So it's like it's STEAM-powered business model. So we definitely embrace that, all the technologies. And the last one is, it's community and it's collaboration. The one company I didn't mention yet, but did you notice those gingham tablecloth cookies over there with the ants? They're pretty good too. They're from Quack's Bakery. So I'm also the founder of Peace Through Pie. That is a nonprofit organization in Austin. It's a peace movement to come together around the table. So the tablecloth is actually what brings us together. And people said, you know what? You'll never sell tablecloths. You notice no one has tablecloths. And I'm like, hey, cool. That means everybody needs one. So we're going to popularize that. But that is, that's cooking together, after school programs, everybody, coming together. If you really want to make peace, you feed someone, you talk together. And PIE means peace includes everyone, P-I-E, get it? Cool acronym. But, so what we're doing is, Lou & Co. is a production arm. We're the design studio, and the nonprofit is Peace Through Pie. So then a portion can go to Peace Through Pie to help build our programs for the kids to work together and learn to cook together and sew together. So that helps, so we're figuring that if you invest in our products, you're investing in a new lifestyle, and you can have your little new leaf, and embrace the ant. So the ant's name is Journey, and I just feel like all of us are on a hero's journey, and you don't have to be big to be a hero.
Well, thank you. I like ending on that. Paul, what we want to do now, so much applause. We really enjoyed having you, Luanne. We want to open it up now for question and answer. So we'll leave a few minutes open for that. There will be a microphone going around, so we will need you to speak into the microphone for the value of the live stream and the video. It's coming behind you.
Hello, I'm Charles. Luanne, you're awesome. I just wanted to say the ant is a perfect representation of what you're after, being that almost every ant you see is a female ant. I listened to this amazing podcast by myrmecologists. So all the worker ants are female. It's a matriarchal structure, and it's a perfect thing for what you're doing on all of this. I just needed to say that. It's a perfect metaphor.
Thank you, Charles. Thank you. Round of applause for that one.
We have a question over here.
Hi, Luanne.
Hi, Lena.
I was wondering what advice you have for young creatives that are trying to find a way to go from the visions that they have in their head to something that's tangible that they can pour back into the community.
Wow, and that's why we're doing it. That's the question. I think, I believe that you've heard how difficult it is to do it, but you know what? It's not impossible. And I would say that just this event, for one, just to say, there are people that can help you. You know what? If you try to do it yourself, you're not going to make it. You will not make it. If you reach out to others, and if it's something you believe in, and I think if you really believe in it and you really want to make a difference, then there are going to be other people that are going to want to work with you. The question is how, and good communication, how that works, and just learning how to collaborate. So to me, the idea of teamwork and collaboration is what will save us. And I believe that, to your question about the young creatives, that's another reason why the STEAM business model, people in technology, and I know Lena's a user experience designer, and I reached out to her because I liked her smile, first of all, but I thought, user experience, that's what we're talking about. So then her experience and what she does, and other people's experience and what they do, and public relations and product life cycle management. So there's people that you connect with that will really get you there.
Absolutely. And I think one of the things that we are trying to do is to break down the steps. I think that it's really key for someone who is learning about the industry to, the first blush might be a fashion hour, and you come and you may learn about, there's multiple processes here. I didn't know there was a pre-production sample before you start making thousands of units. And this is kind of a first step. It's free. It's, something to just kind of check out. Then you learn, there's continuing education classes here, or there's associate degree classes here, or we do workshops or master classes. And then, you check back on our website and you say, let me go to austincc.edu/Fashion Incubator and find out what classes are going on. This is a really great opportunity to find out what are the pieces of information that I don't have yet. And then connecting with local industry people who are helping us all the time to execute our program. Our program is really about being inclusive, collaborative, and interdisciplinary. So that's really, I think, the crux of what Luanne was sharing just a moment ago. And I think that for us, it's really about being able to bring all of our industry veterans to help emerging talent to build their new businesses. So we're excited about that.
And if you have the model that you have to go it alone, I know way too many artists that it's depressing. I'm going to get real serious right now because I can't stand that. I teach young artists, and it's like we are not told that you can't I wasn't. I came through really good art schools too. We are not told that we really must collaborate, and this is how we can collaborate, that we can't make it if we're just by ourselves hardly. It's really tough. And I don't like that we have really great talent, the creative talent, and we're not taught, we're just sort of thrown off and say, you just go be creative. Like, you know how that goes. So you can be creative on your own, but you really need to connect. And what you're doing here, it really to give us this opportunity is absolutely marvelous. I could not ever have done it had I not, first of all, met you and then met the team.
Thank you.
Thanks.
It's true.
Thanks, Luanne.
So if we don't have any additional questions, I want to say thank you so much for everyone coming out to visit us today at the Fashion Incubator. This has been an incredible conversation between Michelle French, our production coordinator here at the Fashion Incubator, and Luanne Stovall of Lu & Co., New Home Goods label. I see I wanted to also make you guys aware of the pop-up shop that's been happening. Before we started, for about an hour ahead of time, we have a pre-order pop-up that's happening on Luanne's newest collection that features some of the product that you see here, the lumberjack rose artwork that's been translated into pillows, as well as a version that's been done on some of the napkins there on the table. I believe there's also a brand book that kind of gives you an idea about the collection and the cookies. So what we would really love, because we're wanting to give Luanne real-time feedback and communication with future customers, is for your email, we'd love to give you a cookie. Is that correct? Is that how we're doing?
Yes.
And your Instagram? Okay. A quick Instagram follow and an email, okay, for a cookie.
Right.
That seems easy enough.
Right. So, and the brand book, that's a quick follow-up to that. Yeah, that is, we wrote that because we wanted you to know what's behind this. So, by putting that forward, our color for Lu & Co. is New Leaf Green, and there's Fierce Magenta, and you might ask why. It's because it's time for Fierce Magenta to get out there. I want to say one really quick thing. Jennifer Cavalier, are you back there? She's my Lu & Co. business partner, and it would not have happened without Jennifer. Yeah, because it's again, really good partnerships. So, Jennifer's got an engineering background, so biotech and engineering and AI, and all kinds of different things. So we kind of crashed into each other at a fashion event, and then I was looking for partnerships, just saying all the people that it takes to pull it together.
Absolutely. You definitely need an army behind you to build a business. I wanted to leave you guys with just a few things that we have coming up. Austin Design Week is upon us. It will be here November 8th, so we are on the tour schedule from 2 to 4. But if you're here earlier, there's actually a series of things that we're doing that day. We have a fabric market here from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. So on your chair, there is a square flyer underneath the information regarding the incubator. That's a flyer that just gives you more information about coming back out to see us on November 8th. From 10 to 4, you can shop silk, cottons, beautiful novelty fabrics from New York and from China. We came into an amazing estate of silk that's here locally from a local artist. She does textile art. She's been featured at the Smithsonian, and she's an Austinite. Unfortunately, she passed away a couple of years ago, and this is her daughters are actually bringing the material to Austin Community College, and they wanted to have the community benefit from her incredible resources that she was able to pull together from so many different places. And so it's going to be a bit of a history, of where these materials came from, as well as an opportunity to shop fabrics that you never see in Austin. So we're really excited. It's bolts and bolts and bolts of silk, lots of cottons, beautiful canvases. It's going to be amazing. So if you love fabric and you love creating, you'll love coming back out to see us on November 8th. So that's from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. At 12, we will be doing our fashion hour here. So it's gonna be a twofer is gonna be the fashion hour and the fabric market. But from 2 to 4, we're on the Austin Design Week tour schedule. So throughout the day, there'll be a variety of things that you can participate in with us here at the Community College Fashion Incubator.
I have one more thing.
We are going to wrap up here, but I did want to just remind you about our hashtags, and also to ask Luanne, where can we find you online, or what's your hashtags and handles so that we can find you?
Okay. I should just be able to say that. Crystal, you want to take that one? Okay, we have the signs over
So
there.
we have the signs in the back, so feel free that whenever you take your pictures and post your pictures, don't forget to tag the hashtag. It'll be hashtag New Leaf ATX, as well as the Lou & Co. Can you repeat it for me? Hashtag Lou & Co. Studios. Oh, wow. So if you post a picture from the event and tag Lou & Co., you could potentially win an entire set of napkins. Ooh. Well, all right. Those napkins are really, really nice. Okay, I'm gonna be doing that. I'd love a set. So your odds are pretty good if there's only a couple people doing it. Okay, so everybody needs to do it to make it at least a little challenging. Okay. So what we want to do is we're going to go ahead and wrap up here. Guys, thank you so much. Luanne is up here to be able to answer any of your questions about the brand. It's such a pleasure to have you guys. We're right here at 1 o'clock, so we want to honor our time for our live streaming guest. Thank you again. Hope to see you here November 8th, and we'll talk to you soon. All right, thanks, guys.